We've got the 55 Cadillac Eldorado, an iconic vehicle. The 53 Cadillac Eldorado was used during Dwight D. Eisenhower's inauguration, but this car is absolutely in great condition. And currently what we're doing is we're checking for a brake pedal situation. We're probably gonna have to adjust the drum brakes, but it's great to take a break from technology and get just an old classic. I'm feeling also that we're probably gonna have to adjust the carburetor on this, and so I want to get this back and share this beautiful, unique 55 Eldorado. We'll get that back in the garage and look at the mechanics of such a wonderful ride. You know, during a time in the mid-50s, Cadillac was leading the way, forward thinking with the design. Of course, the Eldorado being the gilded one, Cadillac took every measure to make sure that this car was going to be a classic. From those gorgeous high slender tail fins to the twin round taillights and loads of chrome, this car is a piece of art. So today we're actually going to look at the basics to the brake system. We've got a brake pedal that seems to fade a little bit. We're not going to get deep into the brake system, but I wanted to show you some of the basics of how this shoe setup works on this 55 Eldorado. All right, you guys may not have the luxury of a 4-post rotary rack, so it's really key, as I remind you every time you're going to do some work on your car, you want to make sure that you're using the floor jack on the frame. On this particular 55 and a lot of your older mid-50s and 60s vehicles, you don't want to lift that on the skirt of the vehicle. So you want to make sure you got good contact on the frame. You also want to make sure that the frame isn't rotted out. So you don't want to jack that vehicle up and the frame starts falling apart. So be very careful with this step. You know, take your time here as well. Get a nice old-fashioned hubcap tool so when you're working with this chrome, you guys don't etch that. These caps can be very difficult to find. Now here's a quick tip on these caps. The center pieces can start to rattle over time. So while you've got the cap off, you can actually make some adjustments to these ears right here, and that'll keep that center cap from rattling, sounding like a ruckus. So you can get your drum off, you can just easily slide that off. A lot of times it's not going to come off that easy. You can kind of bang on it like that here or use a hammer and whack it. The idea is to unseat the drum from this actual flange here. So as we take that off, be careful. You're going to have a lot of brake dust coming out of these guys. Now listen, brake dust can be a culprit for a brake squeak. So the first thing we're going to do before we even make an adjustment is we want to carefully, and you guys can use some carb cleaner. We're using some aerosol cleaner here. Just want to get in here and really get this all cleaned up so you're not messing with that nasty brake dust. That brake dust can cause some problems, so you don't want to be breathing that brake dust. So get it all nice and clean. Don't forget your goggles. You get this stuff in your eyes, it's a problem. And as you can see, we're still got that cloud of dust, so we need to get in there a little bit more. Now, if you've got a pressure washer, you can use a pressure washer. The idea is that you just want to use soap. You don't want to use any fancy cleaners or anything. Soapy water works perfect when you want to clean brakes. So while we're in here, we're really doing a slow down of a visual. We want to take our time and make sure all of these springs are seated where they need to be. The other fact is we want to make sure that the wheel cylinder is not leaking. Now if that wheel cylinder is leaking, it's going to cause that pedal to kind of fade even more, and in some occasions, if you got multi-leaks from the hydraulic brake system, you're going to fade all the way down to the floor and you'll know it. So as you guys can see, with this drum in place without any adjustments, we're spinning and we should have a little bit more resistance, and you can actually feel that. You have just enough resistance. You don't want too much because then you're going to burn up the brakes and you're actually going to smell those brakes burning. So we're going to get these adjusted with our brake adjuster spoon. Alright guys, there's a couple of ways to do this. This is really the easiest way, is to actually sleeve that spoon into the slot that's designed for quick adjustment. Now you may hear it click, you may not. In this case, we're not really hearing it click. But the idea is to move that adjuster up and that shoe will expand out. Now by utilizing that sleeve, when you're putting that spoon on the back side, while you're adjusting, you can check the tension of that drum by spinning it. Now you can also do it this way, where you're actually going in and making that adjustment and checking to see what that tension is. So the whole idea is to create a little bit of resistance, and that actually feels pretty good. You're spinning it maybe 30 degrees, 40 degrees, and you get some of that resistance. Again, if you over tighten these guys, you're going to burn up the brakes. You'll know about it because as soon as you drive that, it's gonna start smoking. There you have it. Now, it was pretty easy on this brake setup. You may have a pretty aged setup, so remember, do what it takes to do the job right. If you need to replace the shoe linings, replace all your springs, and I tell you, even if those wheel cylinders are not leaking and they're super aged, they're inexpensive enough for while you're in there, replace those wheel cylinders. The 55 will be back in the garage, and I'll give you guys future updates. For now, man, I appreciate you guys stopping by this series of Inside the Garage. And I always say, if you guys have any questions, get them down in the comments. Hey, am I mechanics? If I forgot anything, or maybe you want to add to this piece, get them down in the comment section. So again, guys, appreciate you guys hanging on this edition of Inside the Garage.